Test 1, 2, 3. Mom would ask.
All right, guys, it is 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and open the meeting. I do need a motion to declare an open meeting.
I'll make a motion to declare an open meeting.
Second?
Motion by JW, second by Mary. Bobby,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Jason, yes. JW.
Yes.
We are in an open meeting. We welcome our visitors to the meeting tonight. As per the law, the Board of Education does adhere to the Open Meeting Act, and a copy of that act is posted on the wall to my right. This meeting has been properly advertised according to the policy and the Nebraskans Open Meeting Act. Moving on to the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is that you, Bobby?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Mary, second by Bobby. Mary, do you have any comments or conversation?
No.
Questions? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Bobby, comments, concerns? The rest of the board?
No.
Nope. All right. We'll go ahead with Corey then.
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jason, yes. JW,
Yes.
and Bobby.
Yes.
Motion carried. All right. Public comments or correspondence. We have a special presentation by the CNA class. So girls, you have the floor. Thank you for coming.
All right, I'm Logan Maloney. I'm a senior here at Pawnee, and I plan on going into exercise science with an emphasis on pre-physical therapy and hoping to get my doctorate in physical therapy at Doane University. Well, I would go on to a good school, but yeah, that's what I plan to do.
Hi, I'm Anna Mites. I plan to go into pre-med and major in maybe biology or biochem. I want to be an anesthesiologist, and I'm still working on my paths to get there. Oh, and I'm a senior.
We took the CNA class earlier this semester. It was an 8-week program, and it was truly an amazing opportunity. It was basically completely covered by SCC, and going into pre-med area, it was amazing to get experience in the field, and it was truly remarkable. And my guidance counselor up at Doane talked to me about she's had CNA girls come through, and there's amazing job opportunities for me now that I have my CNA certificate, and it's gonna be awesome. Okay, we have a few things that we would like to do, and we'll get you guys included on one of our skills. We're gonna don and doff PPE, which I cannot tell you what that stands for. I know don is put on, doff is take off. I don't know what PPE stands for.
And we're gonna get you guys involved. We're gonna have you don and doff the gloves. We'll teach you how.
Yeah. We'll explain gait belts, blood pressure, taking temperature, and yeah. All right. First, we'll start with the gloves. So I'll give each of you 2 gloves. Where do you want to go?
I was gonna say, yeah. So are you guys working now as CNAs or not?
And are you?
I applied for the assisted living, but I'm still going through the process.
I am waiting till college. Right now, I'm a PT tech at Husker Rehab and Beyond. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Are they doing it right so far?
Yes, the first step is pretty easy. You put it on, but taking it off is where you have to be more technical. Okay, so before you put on your gloves, you always sanitize your hands. Always sanitize to promote infection control.
Yeah.
Okay, and then to take off your gloves, so you have them on and try and get your wrinkles out. So you pinch right here, pull up, crumple it in your hand. You take 2 fingers, put it in your glove, try not to touch that side, and you gather it. So all the soiled area of the gloves is on.
Smaller hands.
Need bigger gloves.
Not a one size fits all.
Okay. Next, we'll talk about the gait belt. So this is used when
You ambulate.
ambulating patients. You always use it no matter what. If you don't use it and your patient falls, that's a lawsuit. Always use it, no matter what. So it's pretty simple. You just put it around your patient, put it in, and this is where you put it down, and put it in the tube. Yeah, right here. Through this. And you tighten. And then you put it in through here. And then you make sure like it's pretty tight. You can have 2 fingers in there. And then you just use this when you're helping patients transfer. So I would like be on this side if this was her weak side and such. So that is always a must have when you're a CNA. Okay. Next you want to do PPE?
Yeah.
All right. So, learning about PPE, we learn more in regards to COVID and viruses like that. So, it is very technical. You never want to touch anything soiled. So, starting off, you would take your gown, put your arms in it. You can like lightly shake it, but don't shake it too much to open it up. And then you take these and tie them around your neck. And then you take this and ensure that you overlap so that nothing is showing. And then you do your mask. So you would spread it out, put it over, up over the nose, and pinch. Then you would use your face shield. And finally, you use your gloves. When you put your gloves on, try to put them over your sleeves so no skin is showing, which is hard, especially with your big hands. You cannot have. All right, now we're mostly fully covered. So you would start by taking off your gloves, the way we told you earlier, trying not to touch any soiled parts. And with this, we would have a hazard bag right here that we would like drop them in, but in these circumstances, we obviously don't have that. And then you take off your face shield. And then you take off your gown, which is very hard because you cannot touch the soiled part. So you grab in here and go out and down, out and down, rolling inward. And then your mask. And yeah, that's how you handle PPE. Good job, Logan. Okay. Now, Anna, you want to take my temperature?
Yeah.
Okay. We were given booklets for our CNA class that gave us a list step by step of how to do everything. So we have before you do your care, what you do in your care, and then what you do after your care. So like every time we would do a skill, we would go up to the door, knock, introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Logan. I'll be your CNA today. Is right now a good time to take your temperature? All right, perfect. They usually say yes in our circumstances. We've never had anyone say no. Mostly because we work on each other, but,
For sure.
So then we would lock the bed wheels, raise the bed to waist level, take the call light, and we would begin our procedure. Always sanitize, always, and put your gloves on. But, okay,
Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to just take it?
you can just sit.
Okay, so you have the thermometer, but for infection control, we have a covering. You just up on it. That? Is it maple?
I usually click buttons until it works.
Under the tongue. Is it working?
If it's like rotating, like you see the digital, there you go.
Okay, 98.7.
Yeah.
And then you just, this is the fun part, you just shoot it.
It is really fun.
Okay, now Logan is gonna take some blood pressure.
Who wants to have a blood pressure taken?
Mr. Rottingham?
I would want. We'll see how nerdy I am.
Okay, blood pressure was the one skill that I prayed to the good Lord up in heaven I didn't get on my test. So, we'll see how this goes. Luckily I didn't. It worked. Okay. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, I'm Logan. I'll be your nursing assistant today. It's right now a good time to take a look. Okay, good, good, good. Lock the wheels, raise the bed. Okay. Okay. So you put this right here. Is that the tubercle?
And cubital.
And cubital. Yeah. I was so close. Okay. So you go like that. And then these things scare me. Okay. There. So you squeeze it until it goes up to 160 to 180. I think I have there. Then you slightly release it. I got 138 over 86.
I believe that, but
Okay, and then with these are stuff that you would write who, what, when, where, and why on a sheet to take stats. So I would put Mr. Rottinghouse, who, what, blood pressure, when, today's the 11th, right? Yeah. November 11th, who, what, when, where, at Pawnee City High School, why, for fun. And so, yeah, I think that concludes our presentation.
Good job.
Good job.
How
So
many
you would
were,
recommend, go ahead.
no, how many were totally in your class?
We had
Like maybe,
7 or 8.
yeah,
We had 2 from Pawnee.
6.
Oh, yeah,
No,
6.
7. Because there's 3, 3, 1.
Oh, yeah, 2 from Pawnee, 2 from Lewiston. We had a college student from up in Lincoln, and then 2 city members.
So do you feel like this is a program we should definitely continue?
Oh,
Yes.
100%. It was such an amazing opportunity, and I'm so glad I did it. And I'm gonna get a job that pays $26 an hour. That's nuts. So, yes, it was an amazing opportunity, and I really hope others can also get it. But, yeah, thank you guys for listening to us.
Thanks for
thanks for
coming.
coming. Thank you, girls.
All right, so at this time, we'll open it up open the floor up to anybody else who has anything for public correspondence. Anybody? All right, we'll go ahead then and move on to committee report.
Objection, can we back up? Did you guys get a letter in the mail?
Yes. It was not signed.
Right, okay,
I mean, that's my opinion.
right, no, it was not signed.
Mine.
Yeah. Okay. I just thought I'd bring it up since we were talking.
Yeah, I mean, I wish.
All right, committee reports, policy committee.
Well, we met and we talked. I think we can discuss anything when we get to policy, but I don't know that there's anything else to say there. I would also point out too that we've got negotiations, has a meeting scheduled with the teachers. We meet in late December. So we'll be having first meeting with the teachers on that 18th, I believe, that Wednesday.
18th or 19th?
18th.
Okay. I need to.
I won't only read because I had it up right today. Sorry, put them on.
Yeah.
So I have the 18th.
Did I have? Back out now.
I know. I will.
All right, so we'll go ahead to move to administrative reports, starting with counselor's reports.
I can start with college and career visits. On October 16th, the 8th grade class, so the group I have for careers and Mrs. Gira's intro to business class, we went to Althea for a manufacturing day. This was really fun. The 8th graders asked really, really good questions, were really engaged. They like seeing the connection between what is done here and also what they know from home. So for example, if they see like a bag of dog food at home and it has a P on it, they know it was made in Pawnee City. So I learned a lot, they learned a lot. It was a really good experience. A group of 9 went to UNO on the 7th. We also had really good feedback from UNO, the dorms. They really like those suite style dorms, the tuition, the campus size, the affordability of it. We are going to be going to Doane on the 14th and then Midland on the 19th. An update about Apply to College Day. I've just listed our list of attendees for Apply to College Day. We had really good feedback, really good attendance. All of our seniors were able to start the FSA ID process. That is the first step towards the FAFSA, and that FAFSA is a graduation requirement this year. Feedback has been positive that I've heard from kids and parents. And also for our Apply to College week, we added trivia questions. So we posed staff college trivia to community members on our Facebook pages. And the first person to comment in with the right answer would win a $10 gift card. And student homerooms were also able to call in with correct answers to prizes. So we were lucky enough to have Sunnyday, Johnson Feed, Southeast Nebraska Feed, and Stella Office sponsor our prizes this year. So it's a fun way for the kids to learn more about us as staff, but also to celebrate our seniors. For leadership group, the elementary group, they are going to be planning, organizing, and leading the December pep rally. And they have been also working on PBIS trivia questions in the morning to elementary classes. So it's a great way for them to work on their public speaking skills. Middle school group, they had their after school mentoring program on Thursday the 7th, and the next session is the 14th. And then they also led the PBIS pep rally on November 6th. In addition to this work, they're also helping with the City with Angel Tree project. So they're a busy group. On a Friday, November 8th, representatives from SEC were here for the AccuPlacer. The AccuPlacer is used for several different reasons. It can earn kids admission into SEC programs, or if students want to take certain dual credit classes, it can help them place them into those classes as well. For SEC registration, registration opened up October 28th. It is almost complete and it has gone very smoothly. How I do that process is the kids meet with me 2 times. The first time we look at their schedule, decide what classes they want to meet. The second time, if their bill is paid, we're just able to put in their course codes and register them. So far so good on that. Any other questions on kind of what's going on?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a few things to touch on. First, things academic in nature. I wanted to bring up the fact that we will again be having the RAP sessions last year. I don't remember what the acronym stands for now, but just a brief refresher. That's essentially for students who we think could benefit from some additional instruction in how to cope with challenging situations or emotions, anxiety, stress. And we are fortunate to have two community members in Kelly Weirs and Heather Farwell that volunteered to run these sessions last year. They went and did the training, which for Kelly, I know took at least 2 full days. And then Heather's training was able to be done in smaller increments over time. But they both volunteer their time on a weekly basis for a quarter to do these. Last year we did 2 sessions. It's a smaller number of students that we felt needed referral this year, so we're just doing a session starting third quarter. If we think there are more, we do have the option to again do that in the fourth quarter, but at this point we don't see the need. So it's been a nice addition for the kids. It looks like we'll have probably 5 students that will take part in that this year. So, just a couple of things from the professional development standpoint. We continue to work on math and ELA instruction. Last professional development day that we had, Dr. Gossman, Tara Gossman from the ESU was here and worked through math instructional strategies with Brian and I and Julie and all the K-12 math instructors. So again, that was a really beneficial day. Every time we do something like that, see us taking steps in a positive direction, and in reality, already feel great about the math instruction that's happening. But every time I hear the teachers having conversations about it, I realize, one, I'm learning so much more as we go through this, and Mrs. Schmidt is still teaching me 20 years later. So, but really, every time I talk to Dr. Gossman, I just have this renewed sense of optimism and trust in the math instruction that's happening here in all the classrooms. So, and then the inclusion training that was led by Danny. There was a team of us that went to ESU 6 earlier this year. There's a 4-part inclusion series. It's being directed from the state level. Data on our inclusion of all students is something that's monitored by the state. And so it's the 4-part series was provided as an opportunity for some schools. We sent a team. I was glad we went the first one. The next one is coming up here next month. So what Danny did was basically took a summation of the first of the 4-part series and brought it back to the whole staff. So as far as activity goes, Play Production finally had their first public production. They had their first contest at York on Saturday. And I say finally because, I mean, you all know how much time Mrs. Bloss and Mr. Martin and Miss Gira put in along with the kids. And so it seems like a long time leading up to the first one. And now it's kind of a rush. So already they're back at it Saturday again this week. So Mrs. Bloss said that for first production, she felt optimistic about it and thought it went really well. So I'm glad to hear they were up to a good start. Tomorrow's Pioneer Conference vocal music at Sterling. And then just a brief winter sports update on participation. So here are the numbers. I'm going to go through those. Those are the roster numbers for the programs for the winter. In the communication I've had with conference ADs so far, this seems to be very average for schools our size right now. So always we would like to see more participation, but that is not a unique to Pawnee City problem. So. Then just some miscellaneous things. We had the Veterans Day program today, and I just wanted to bring it up because Mrs. DeGraff puts in a ton of work preparing for it. And Mrs. DeGraff and Ms. Sullivan go through a lot to make sure that it runs smoothly, and it did. Again, it's a great opportunity for the kids to see community members they might not be aware about and hear about things that those people have done that they maybe had no clue. So every year I'm always not surprised, but reminded how seriously the kids take it. It is not an opportunity or an event where we have behavior problems. Kids seem to grasp the serious and respectful nature of the day. And so it was again that way today. one thing I wanted to touch base about that happened last week. Mrs. Blecka and I last year made a decision to start taking the sixth graders to the UNL Life Skills Rally. For us to take them specifically, it's a chance to get to know the kids that are new to our building a little bit better, spend the whole day with them. But the Life Skills Rally seemed to present a neat opportunity where kids get to go and listen to some of their Husker athletes that they know and respect, and with appropriate messaging for middle school students, and specifically about values and priorities in life. Then they get a chance to, after they participate in the rally, the pep rally, which last year had around 4,000 students, and I think it was comparable this year. I didn't get a number this year. But after the rally, then they always get Valentino's pizza there, and then they get to watch the Husker women's opener. So this year they played UNO, and so we typically don't stay for the whole game, so we get back for buses. This year we want to get back for the safety presentations. But the kids get to go to the rally, they get to listen, and in some cases interact with Husker sports athletes. Like this year we had some really excited sixth graders that were getting to talk to Merritt Beeson and Bergen Riley. Yes. And so they, see their faces light up. It's pretty cool. So then they get to see the production for the pregame, and they get to see usually about half of the basketball game. So it's a neat opportunity for those kids. This year when I asked them to raise their hands, we have 26, and I asked them to raise their hands if they'd been to PBA before, and only 3 raised their hands. So it's neat to give them a new experience like that. NDE safety and security presentations. I just want to bring that up because it was a neat opportunity for us to have somebody at a high level from the state come and talk to our kids and our staff and our parents. I was appreciative of those of you that were able to make it at night. I know that's kind of a challenge. We didn't have what I would call a great turnout for the parent presentation. Over a lot of the parents that are also staff members sat through the earlier afternoon presentation. So we still, I think, reached a good number of people. And then lastly, an attendance update. Chronic absenteeism is something we've spoken about earlier in the year. Right now in the high school building, we've got 13 students that are identified as chronically absent. Again, that means that they've been absent 10% or more of their membership days. We have 4 of them that are making up time because we only have 4 of them that have what I would call severe. The other are within about 1%, which would be a few hours of time. And those just happened recently due to medical reasons. So I think if I did my math right earlier, 6 of these, even just if they attend every day through the next week, they'll automatically regain their status in non-chronic attendance. So really, we're typically any week looking at 4 to 5. So overall, out of our high school population, I feel pretty good about that right now. Of course, we'll keep working with those kids and families to get them here more often, but just an update on that. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I try to keep mine short this month. Have enrollment at the top, just some administrative things to talk about here. Educators Health Alliance released their health insurance rates for 25-26. They will go up by 5.5%. I feel like that was less than I was expecting. I was expecting something closer to 10. So we'll use those numbers as we go into teacher negotiation to kind of give us a baseline on what the total cost will be for movement on the salary schedule and vertical movement, I should clarify, on the salary schedule, and then increase to base. In their press release, they pointed out that over the last 10 years, they've averaged an annual increase of 4.8%, which over 10 years is probably comparable to inflation. But if you think about insurance over 10 years, I think our subgroup, which is pretty much all the schools in the state of Nebraska, all the public schools minus 2 or 3 that are part of this alliance, I feel like they do a very good job of managing expenses. And the board that governs that is representatives from the School Boards Association, the Administrators Association, and the Teachers Association. So they all have a vested interest in it. And so looking at a total package increase just on insurance for all of our employees that receive health insurance of about $43,000 because of that. wanted to share with, just in terms of building and grounds, that something you may have noticed if you ever drive by the alley, down the alley by the bus barn, that we've talked off and on. Mary, you've probably been involved in some of those conversations over the years with board members about putting a fuel tank in, and everyone thinks it's a good idea, but there was never a consensus on where a good place to put it was, because it was so unsightly to have it. The only place we could really identify was the north property up here, and there was a desire to not, kind of blight that spot. Well, last summer, Ag Partners showed up, and they said, well, we would be willing to get you this super heavy duty barrel, and if you bought your fuel from us, we'd provide the tank for free. It's a UL 2085. It's a double walled high combustion, or a high combustion barrier in that double walled tank. And so we'll be getting, showing up here in a couple weeks. There's no lease agreement with them. They provide the tank for free. And one of the advantages is that we can now start buying the dyed fuel. I call it the ruby red fuel, that the farmer's fuel. We have to pay the sales tax back to the state of Nebraska, Department of Revenue, but the federal sales tax is waived. So you're saving a large amount of tax on each gallon. I don't have that in my report, do I? But I was thinking, based on my estimate on how much diesel we use in a year, it could be a savings of up to $5,000 a year in fuel costs. So I think that's kind of exciting. I think the drivers will like it. It'll have either a keyed switch on the outside or a switch on the inside that it'll just activate the power and deactivate the power. And then we'll have it lit, and we'll have to put in a chain link fence around it too. But I think it'll pay for itself in a year, and it'll be much better fuel. Ag Partners regulates, they do all of the cold winter treatment to it to prevent, so they don't want you to put any of your stuff in it. So it's not like now we can go up to Casey's, load up, fill up, and then we put a jug of de-icer in it. This is going to be a much higher quality fuel. Don't corner me up on what the fuel is. I don't know that, but I know it's better than Casey's fuel. And so I wanted to report that. A couple other notes that I don't have in my report I'd want to point out. On claims tonight, we made our final QC Puff payment on our QC Puff bond, so that's exciting. We didn't have to, I think a year and a half ago when I first talked about paying that off, that I said we might have to borrow some from general fund. There was enough cash in that fund to not have to borrow from general fund, because we don't get our last big, you get 3 big property tax checks in a year. You get one in January, one in May, and one in September, when the check shows up. It's from the month prior. So we don't get that last big check from the 24 taxing year until January. So at some point after those some of those delinquent payments roll in, we'll probably either can keep it there for any future projects that we might look at, or we could just close that account out and move that fund. I think we move it into general fund. I'd have to clarify with our auditors what they want us to do there. So that, just to let you know, that's the last payment on that. So I think that's kind of exciting. One other thing I'd bring up, Jason, did you want me to talk about board training opportunities?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Jason and I were chatting, we met when we kind of were going over the agenda beforehand, that it might be a good idea to, after our 2 new board members come on in January, to see if we can find a night that Marcia Herring could come down and do some new board member. Well, it's good for all board members, a rookie and refresher type situation, where she would come down and just go over some basic boardsmanship. And to clarify, Marcia Borcher is Marcia Herring, thank you, sorry, not Marcia Borcher. Marcia Herring is the person who I think she's finally starting to phase out a little bit into retirement. Might have some other people that she's handing the baton off to up there, but they come in and they work for the School Boards Association, and so they work for you as board members, and they're the people that run like the new board member training and the president training that some of you have been to. It's what we tried to find a day that we could go on site, but it's never a good time for all of us because we all are so busy. Maybe try to find an evening that she could just come here. and we would just do a kind of a workshop. There wouldn't be any action or anything, just open the meeting, because it's quorum, and then close the meeting. The other thing I would share as well, I did share out, you all should have received account information for the KSB School Law new website. There's they've got a pre-recorded series I've been watching. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. I'm just watching in the background. I have a superintendent series I watch live. There's actually a recorded principal series that I'll move on to next, and then a recorded board series. But I've been watching the board series in the background while I'm working. And they're only about 12 minutes of video, so they kind of just some upper level type, not, they don't get into the weeds on a lot of things, but the basics on some of these important topics that board members need to know. And I would strongly encourage you to just stream those when you've got a chance in the background, when you're doing something else, maybe when you're driving, or if you've got some time, just so you can hear that. It's, I try to cover some of these things, but I can only talk so much before it starts to get old, and they're experts. And they work for you. They are those school board's attorneys. So I would encourage you to watch those. I think those could be valuable. And as I listen to them, not a lot of new information to me, but the refresher is nice. And I think this would be valuable for board members to hear that. Maybe sometimes know that I'm not just making this stuff up, that it really is coming from trainings I've been to. So I think that's it for my report. Any questions from me?
I mean, Marcia has come before.
Yes.
Yeah, us three were,
Well, she also came for that one retreat we did too.
yeah, yeah.
We tried to do some goal setting.
I was gonna say, Jason and I did ours together.
Mhm.
And she's come and we've done kind of that new board training, must have been right after I
Because I did mine with Jason, I know.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
she's been down these 2 or 3
At
times.
least.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good, I mean, especially with having, so many new board members within the first few years.
Yeah, she did a nice job.
And then Jason and I too met with Corey. We hadn't done that before. We had a night where we just went over some basic stuff. We took the School Board Association agenda and kind of, it was a pretty aggressive agenda. We kind of, I went through in advance and kind of scaled it down and just covered some very basic stuff. Probably try to set up a time where we can do that with Hannah and Mark as well, if they're interested.
It's very helpful.
It was helpful. Brian, I was gonna ask about, the Ag Partners. I mean, I'm a pretty new member. But, did we ever, look at any other local companies or?
We have over the years.
Okay.
Yeah, so we initially, we tried Cody, when Cody still owned,
Yep.
right after he bought it from Kleppers. And then we tried,
Can we talk to the co-op?
co-op, but what set Ag Partners apart is because they give us this opportunity to give us this better, higher quality fuel tank, and they weren't going to charge us anything.
Right.
And they actually didn't have this. They had to order it specifically to put it up here. So that's why we went
Okay.
that direction.
I was just wondering about SAPs or even Kramer Oil.
We talked to SAPs too. Yeah,
Okay.
the SAP,
They weren't interested.
Okay.
yeah, not in the, yeah,
I was just trying to get some background is all.
that's fair.
Any further questions? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to policy and consider adopting the policy committee's recommendations for the policy reviews and updates as presented. Number 1, for review only, 4048, assessment of administration and security. 2, for review and revision, 4046, internet search regarding potential employees. 4051, staff and district social media use. 4052, job reference to prospective of employers. Where am I at now? 4055, administrative designee position. 4057, superintendent evaluation. 3, for adoption. 4050, overtime and compensation time. 4054, reporting child abuse or neglect. And 4056, resignation of certificated staff. Gosh. Certificated. Why did that? Anyway, okay.
Brian, since the packet has come out, I've
Mhm.
had a couple contacts in regards to some of the new policies. Would you mind
Sure.
clarifying
Sure,
our
so-
2 new policies and kind of what they are really?
Yeah, I can do that. So there, well, just to give a little context. So just through, I know Corey's new, so kind of what we decided a few years back when we started this process, really hitting these policies hard on a monthly basis. We decided, just kind of come up with a schedule so that we can get to all of them over 3 years. So as I go through there and I compare them to the policies that are numbered in the KSB School Law Sample Series, if there's over the years, sometimes numbers get dropped because they incorporate new policies sometimes, and then new policies get dropped in there. Bottom line is sometimes we have numbers that for whatever reason never or have never been adopted. And so when I see those, I try to put them to the committee and say, is this something, we want to adopt? Because it seems like a pretty good idea. So the new ones here, they're all pretty straightforward stuff. I think they're pretty much all parallel the state statutes or federal statutes. So the overtime and comp time policy is basically, it just outlines what the rules are under the Fair Labor Standard Act for employees that are either hourly employees, salaried employees, or comp time salary employees. Most under the Fair Labor Standard Act, most all of your employees are hourly and have to be hourly, and as such, they're entitled to being paid overtime for any hours worked in excess of 40 hours in a given week. Salaried are not, but salaried employees can only be certain people that meet certain certain criteria under usually in a management type role. And so they are just paid to do their job, however long it takes to do it. Usually there's regular work hours, but if there's hours beyond that, they work them. And then occasionally you'll see people that are paid as hourly and they're put on what's called a comp time contract, which would mean they get paid a salary and they would work the equivalent of a 40-hour week. But if they work overtime, then those hours would carry forward that they would create in a bank. And I don't think the bank can get above 40. I think you can't bank more than so many hours. And then if you can make them use the hours, but if they have any hours left at the end of the year, then you would pay them back out on a prorated basis. That's all.
That was one of the questions was, if it was just for that year or if.
Correct. Yes, you can't, no, I'm almost certain you have to pay it out on an annual basis. Jeff Bacon is on a comp time contract for us. The only 2 employees we have that are salaried are Steph and Jeff. Everyone else is hourly. Steph is traditional. We consider her management because she checks the boxes under Fair Labor Standard Act, being in charge of other people and making kind of autonomous decisions about specific things. And so she's on a salary contract and doesn't get any overtime for being at board meetings. And then we have Jeff on a comp time contract, which means he's paid a salary, and he gets everything for him is based on a 2,080 hour year. And then so you see him work more aggressive hours this time of year, and then during the summer he's able to use a lot of his bank time. But we've never had to pay him out that I can recall for any unused bank days. Everyone else is hourly, traditional hourly, and so if they work overtime, they get paid overtime.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's standard stuff. It's all just, it mirrors what's in Fair Labor Standard Act. It just governs how that works. It doesn't, it's nothing specific or unique or really that deviates from law. It's just kind of a reiteration of what statute says. The next one, what's the next one? So child abuse and neglect, so under Nebraska state statute, anyone who works in education is a mandatory reporter. It's under law, it always has been. If we have anyone who suspects that a child has been abused or neglected, we have a statutory obligation to report that to law enforcement and or Child Protective Services. Typically, you always go to CPS, and then if it's, and depending upon like how urgent the issue is, you might call the sheriff's office first and let them know. But they still want you to do a CPS report, because anything that goes to CPS gets sent to the county office that this child is a resident. So sometimes parents aren't very happy about it, but we're just doing our job. We're just doing what we have to do legally in the law, because if we have reason to believe that if a reasonable person is kind of the litmus test under law, if a reasonable person should have known that that child was subject to neglect or abuse and you were one of those persons and you didn't report it, then you are liable for not reporting it. So I think for the most part, this policy is just a verbatim reiteration of statute. And then 4056, resignation of, this one might be good to talk about a little bit, because this one does have a little bit of nuance in it. So, how do I explain this? Certificated employees, any certificated employee in the state of Nebraska, that can be an administrator, it can be a counselor, it can be teachers, it'd be anyone who works on a teaching certificate of some sort. Under law, the earliest you can give them a hard deadline to let us know, are you coming back or not coming back, is March 15th. If someone resigns before March 15th, there's nothing you can do to stop them from resigning. Now, the board has to act on resignation because that's under law, you do, but I don't know even if you deny the resignation, you can't stop them from leaving. We have no recourse over them. So it's kind of a formality. It used to be, up until a couple of years ago, that I would tell teachers, give them, like in Mary's Day, would tell them, just have your contract turned back in by the April board meeting. We don't do that anymore. With the teacher shortage being what it is, I say I want it back on March 15th, and I think this last year and said I want it back by 10 a.m. or noon on March 15th, and if you don't have it in by that time, I'm probably going to advertise for your opening, because there's just too much of a shortage for teachers right now. Especially if your neighbor district has it in their negotiated agreement that they don't have to have them back until April 15th, and then you can it makes cherry picking a little easier from your neighbors. But there's just so much movement with teachers at that time of year. We can't afford even 12 hours on March 15th and not let them know. So we need to know from those teachers on March 15th at a certain time what time, whether they're coming back or not. It can be done with the contract. It can be done with the renewal agreement. April 15th is the last day you can do that. So April 15th would meaning that if April 15th comes and goes and nothing is done, they are automatically. So it's an automatic renewal of that. So historically here, kind of in the past, we've always just said, if a teacher wanted out, we've kind of let them out, even if it was late, April, May. I kind of like this policy because it says we're only going to let you out of your contract if we can find a competent or qualified, I think is the term used, a qualified replacement for that person. And no one's out later than June 1st. So if a teacher tries to leave and you have a policy that prevents it, or you deny that request to leave, and they do it anyway, the recourse you have there is you can report it to the Nebraska Department of Education, and they will pull their teaching certificate for a year. So they can prevent them from taking advantage of people. So the way it's worded, it's a combination of the two, because there is a little flexibility that you can say the earliest day, whatever day you give, and you don't have to give all teachers the same deadline. So if you have a teacher that you're working with on a performance plan, for example, you can have that teacher their deadline on April 15th and have it for March 15th for all the other teachers. And you deal with that on a case-by-case basis. And that's generally how you handle those situations, because you want to allow yourself as much time as possible to show growth and performance. But this policy effectively says that if it's after whatever deadline is set for that individual teacher, if it's after that deadline, we're not going to accept your resignation unless we find a suitable replacement. And the way I see that happening is Mary, it's April 27th, and she walks in my office and says, I want to resign to take a job somewhere else. And I would say, well, it depends. Are you going to let me do it? It depends. I will have to advertise and see if I get any applications. If I do, it'll be a good faith conversation. I'll say, I find someone good, they return a signed contract, and we'll act on that contract at the next board meeting. So what we do is we approve the first contract, and then we would approve the resignation. But we'd probably say, if I can't find a qualified replacement, you're going to have to serve another year with us. Now, if Mary was going to retire, we could pull her teaching certificate, and she'd say, oh, well, I guess I won't sub for you now either.
I mean, this is nothing new.
No, it's just we've never had it in policy. I think it's good to have it. So
Yeah, one of my first years of teaching, I was offered another job, and I wouldn't.
I think the wording of these sometimes just really throw people off.
well, and oftentimes
I mean, even among us, we had several questions that stemmed from some of the wording, and
oftentimes I think you see that because the attorneys take the route when they don't like poorly written statutes any more than we do.
right.
But they don't want to give too much flesh to a poorly written statute, because when you read a statute, Fair Labor Standard Act's a good example of this, or FMLA is the one I was thinking of actually. When you read FMLA, it makes absolutely no sense. And then you ask attorneys, why'd you write it this way? It says, we just took it out of statute. Because if you try to add too much flesh, then you are giving more, you're putting more restrictions on yourself as a district than you need to. So if there's not case law out there that clarifies what does it mean, we've been discussing one in the office just recently, that what does the word provide mean? Does the word provide mean you present it, or does the word provide mean you have it on file? Or do you just document that they provided it and you give it back to them? If birth certificate is what we're talking about there. It doesn't say. So they kind of, the attorneys, they don't want to add too much flesh to it because they want to give you the ability to interpret the law the way it's written. So that's a long way of, the short answer to that is what I was going to say is lots of times they just use the language that was in statute, which was poorly written in the first place.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining
Yeah,
this.
sure. And then I guess while I've still got the floor kind of here, I will say too, we know there was conversation last month about the dress code and professional appearance. The information was solicited from the teachers. There was a long explanation when I sent that out to the teachers on that survey as to why this was happening. And I felt I was pretty clear as we want to gather information just to help make an informed decision. And ultimately that's still going to be a board decision. I do think the teachers appreciate their voice being heard, even if ultimately we don't agree because it's impossible to make everyone happy on any issue. So I do think there is value in soliciting feedback to make an informed decision. You know, that's a mistake I've learned the hard way over the years is when you operate from this, because sometimes like I make mistakes all the time. And if you don't ask questions about your mistakes, you're more likely to make the same mistake over and over again. So sometimes having information isn't always a bad thing. Well, I'm going with that is the committee's probably not at a point yet where we feel like there's a consensus to come back with any type of a firm's suggestion. So I think we're going to try to meet in person and see if we can develop a consensus internally before we come back on that policy.
Right. So do we have a motion on these policies? All right.
You want to do all of them separately? Each section separately, or you want me to do?
Changing them all, changing any of it?
Well, I mean, like some of them are for review, some are review and
I mean, if
revision.
you're not
Do you want each group
amended,
separately?
if you're not amending any of them, then as far as I'm concerned, is that?
We've done it.
Okay, I will make the motion to approve all of the policies as presented for both review and revision and adoption.
Second.
Motion by Hope, second by JW. Is there any further discussion over it?
I don't have any.
Any other board member? Hearing nothing, we'll start with Hope this time.
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Jason, yes. JW?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
And Corey?
Yes.
Motion carried. One of the last on the agenda, new business, consider approving the board's evaluation of Superintendent Mr. Brian Roddyhouse as presented. You all should have a copy of, I emailed you all a copy of the,
And there should be a paper
I mean,
copy.
there's a paper copy.
Do we need a motion to be able to start discussing? I'll make the motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by JW, second by Hope. Alright. Y'all had a chance to review. Is there any discussion that you guys wanna have? Anything you wanna bring up, talk about? Specifically?
I would share that you and I met last Tuesday, I think, Jason.
I will listen.
Yeah, and we went over it in pretty thorough detail. That is actually what our policy now with tonight's amendment say is to meet with the board president and go over it. And so I feel I'm at a point where I'm very grateful for the commendation that were provided. I always recognize that I make mistakes. I think everyone recognizes that mistakes are inevitable. The important thing is that you're learning from those mistakes. And from my standpoint, it's important to me, if I've got those needs improvement, that means I need improvement. At least one board member thinks I need improvement. And I'm the superintendent for all staff, but from a governance standpoint, I'm the superintendent for all 6 board members. And you're all equally important, and I want to meet what you think are important. Now, I recognize that sometimes that might be not possible but by and large, if you feel there's an area that I need improvement in, that means I need to work harder. And that's the approach I take. And some of those things I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on what you meant. You know, I know kind of where I've stumbled and failed a little bit over the last 12 months. And so I'll gladly take any feedback you want to provide, but there's nothing specific I feel I need to ask at this point.
Is there anything anybody else would like to discuss? All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll start with Mary.
Yes.
Jason, yes. JW?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
And Hope?
Yes.
Motion carried. Last thing on the agenda,
Well, before we do that,
Whoa,
I
whoa,
don't know
whoa.
where we, sorry. This is just, it's not, it was just brought to my attention. And I am 100% guilty. Here was the comment is, we would love for the board to be more visible at all of our school events, not just athletic events. Those are easy to attend. And I am 100% guilty. I missed the meeting that Derek mentioned the last Monday, and was not able to attend the Veterans Day program. But I know in my last couple months here, I'm really going to try to support our staff. I remember being the teacher and having, these things and people not come. And it's very frustrating. So I just think as a board, kind of be cognizant of that and at least, support our teachers, support our students, for what they're doing. And kind of just look at that school calendar and think, what's the one little extra thing that I can come to that my kids aren't maybe involved in, because it is noticeable. And that will go a long way with improving a lot of things in our school, in our community, that type of thing. So I know I'm like, I've got 2 more months, but I promise I'm not going to just not ever come back and stuff. But I've been guilty of that this last year.
This is one, right?
Anyway, so that's off my stuff. You want a motion to adjourn now, don't you, Jason?
I do. I would love one.
I move to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Bobby. Jason, yes. JW,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
Corey, yes. Hope,
Yeah.
Mary. We are adjourned at 7:01.